We've had some deterioration with our bags. So we want to get these bags protected as much as we can, as soon as we can.
So if the bags are falling apart on our house, does that mean that our house is going to crumble to pieces and collapse?
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Green Dream Project. Jim here. If this is your first time here, my wife and I are building our own Earthbag home off-grid in the Arizona desert, trying to do it sustainably. Now, if you caught our last episode, you know we've had some deterioration with our bags. This build is taking us a while, and these bags have been exposed to the sunlight for much longer than they should. For the most part, these bags are holding up really well, but we have had some deterioration. So we want to get these bags protected as much as we can, as soon as we can. So today I am going to put up a shade cloth over the top of the dome. Hopefully this will protect the inside, just keep a bunch of that light from really hitting the bags directly. Some of the deterioration, not too bad. Some of it's worse than others, but we want to try and stop as much as we can. So we got some extra shade cloth. I'm going to try and string that up right now. Well, this might cover about maybe a quarter of the opening of the dome here. I want to see if I can find some more shade cloth. Maybe get some over on the other side here. I got a couple pieces of shade cloth up here, and we get a decent amount of shade. Obviously it's not going to get the whole thing. We'll have to see if we can get a little bit more shade cloth, just a little bit more. And then maybe we could drape it over this side, and I think it'll give the inside here a lot of UV protection. Looks like we're pretty much all covered. It's a little saggy over here, but I think that's fine. Just as long as it's keeping the light off the bag, that's what we need. I think it's crew approved. Is it home, buddy? He likes it in here. Getting nice and comfortable, huh? So by the time I finished getting that shade cloth up, it was already kind of late in the evening. Now in the morning, the sun's just up over the mountains, and I kind of want to see what it looks like inside the dome now that the shade cloth is over there. Let's go check it out. Nice. You know, this has got to keep things much cooler. Obviously, you could see a little light breaking through over here, but that's shaded for the most part. And some direct sunlight over here, but like again, not a huge deal. Otherwise, this is looking really good. So, tell me what you found.
I just came in here this morning and I found a dead chicken.
So this is where the chicken was found, kind of on the ground, head underneath the door.
And at first I didn't see any signs of like an attack, but I just looked inside the coop and there's quite a bit of blood. So it looks like probably some kind of predator got in here, which is kind of worrisome.
Yeah, it is tough losing an animal. We've had those chickens now for, how long have we had those, the new chickens?
Hasn't it been over a year?
Yeah, and you gave them each names. Sad to see that gray head was killed, but I think it's even worse not knowing what happened. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm glad whatever it was that killed this chicken didn't come back.
But it's also scary because now we don't really know what to prepare for exactly. So it's a murder mystery.
Would you want that mystery to be solved, or would you rather it not even come back at all?
I'm okay with it not coming back, just as long as the chickens are safe. So we're taking some extra precautions. So we've been making sure all the chickens are inside the coop at night, and we lock them in there securely. We put blocks around the base of the coop so that nothing can dig under it, and we've been putting the trail cams up.
So we added a trail cam over here. We've also added a trail cam over here. You know, luckily we had those trail cams. We could put them up, but we didn't really get anything except my ugly mug in the morning. I'm usually the one that opens it up in the morning. I'm usually the first one up, so let the chickens out. Of course, Chaska, sometimes she's always there waiting for me, waiting to get let out. Good morning.
Sometimes she doesn't want to go in the coop
Oh yeah, she fights that a little bit. She likes to be on top of the
Yeah.
on top of the coop,
So I have to make sure she gets in there safely.
kicking and screaming. So poor Greyhead. Can we have a moment of silence for Greyhead? Well, back to cobbing. Now, if you've seen our last video, you know we have got a lot of cobbing to do. I don't think we need to do everything, but, you know, we gotta protect more of the bags. Now, I know there's been a lot of comments, a lot of questions, a lot of concerns about the deterioration of some of those bags. I kind of want to address some of those right here in this video.
So if the bags are falling apart on our house, does that mean that our house is going to crumble to pieces and collapse? We don't think so. And here's why. First, let's talk about the function of the bags themselves. These are just woven polypropylene bags, the kind of bags that get used for containing seeds or grain. They do add some tensile strength to the structure, but mostly they just act as a form. If you're familiar with other types of earthen building, like adobe bricks, compressed earth blocks, or rammed earth, all of those use forms or molds to shape the earth into blocks or bricks. Then those forms get removed. With earth bags, the bags act as the forms, and they're kind of a permanent form, so you just fill the bags, lay them down, and leave them. So really the bag itself isn't the crucial part that makes the house strong. Some people who build with earth will add some type of stabilizer to the soil. Oftentimes it's Portland cement. Now cement will probably increase the compression strength. It may help decrease weathering, but we feel it's not ideal for the type of soil that we're using or for our situation. Of course, it would be an increased cost to buy the cement and to buy sand to mix in. Cement also decreases vapor permeability, which is something we were hoping to keep in our earthen walls. Soil, especially soil that has a high clay content, will tend to absorb moisture from the air. That moisture needs someplace to go. It needs to get out of the walls.
Cob can be a dirty, messy job.
Plus, cement takes a lot of energy to produce. It has a high embodied energy. So we're kind of trying to avoid using it if we can. Cement really works best with soil that is low in clay content and is high in sand content. From everything that we've read and learned, cement and clay don't really mix well. I think the reason is that clay is expansive, so when exposed to any kind of moisture, clay wants to absorb that, and then it will expand, and when it releases that moisture, it dries out and it shrinks again. That's a problem when there's also cement there that's binding things together into a hard, solid, rigid block. And then you have the clay expanding and contracting. It could really mess up the binding properties. That's not to say you can't mix cement and soil, but if you do, you probably want to make sure that you have enough sand in there. So now the question is, what about our house? How can it stand up to harsh weather like intense sun, wind, and rain without falling apart? Especially if we're not using something like cement. I think to see what the future holds for our house and its fate, we can look to the past. People have been building with earth for thousands of years. And some of those ancient structures are still standing today. Before we moved to southeast Arizona, we lived in central Arizona in a town called Coolidge. And in that town, there's a national monument called the Casa Grande Ruins. These ruins were basically a village compound with a large building in the center, some earthen walls, and some smaller buildings. They were all built out of earth. These ruins are about 700 years old. So what is the secret that allows these buildings to still exist today? It probably has something to do with the soil in this area. The soil contains something called caliche, a substance that kind of acts like a natural cement. It's formed similar to the way limestone is formed. Mineral-rich deposits get compressed into a very hard material. If you've seen the video we did a while back where we had the ground here excavated, you'll see a scene where you can see into one of the pits, and you can see the different layers of soil. At the top is the topsoil. It's a little more brown. At the bottom is big rocks and pieces of gravel. And in the middle is kind of a whitish layer. That's the caliche. And that's mostly what we're using to build our house. When some of our bags split open, I could see how well this soil tamped into a really solid, hard brick. The sides and the ends of the bag were a little looser. Those are the parts that don't get tamped. But you can see what compression does to the soil. It makes it really strong and hard. So all of this gives us some hope that our house will be able to withstand some weather, at least for a while. And as long as we don't take hundreds of years to build this house, I think we'll be fine. But we still want to do what we can to protect the bags and get them covered because they are vulnerable to UV damage.
People talk to us about putting up chicken wire to help the cob stick, but as you can see, this stuff doesn't have any issues with sticking.
I decided to put some rocks around the base of this tree like I did with our desert willow tree.
So I'm digging around there?
I think so, and this tree I'm even more nervous about because it's not as well established as the other one, and I want to make sure nothing happens to disturb the roots around here, so I'm going to pile up some rocks to kind of keep any animals from digging around here.
Looks pretty healthy otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, it's doing pretty well.
Well, it looks like that's all the cobbing I'll be able to do for now. But at least I got these lower level bags covered. That makes me feel a little bit better. I feel a lot better getting those bottom layers covered, getting them protected.
Well, they're the oldest. They've been sitting there the longest, exposed. Plus, we go in there and are doing things, or if crew goes in there, scratches up the walls.
Yeah.
They're a little more vulnerable, I guess.
Man, I was really hoping that we'd be able to get this dome complete before you could start really seeing some damage on the inside bags, but just has definitely taken a lot longer than we anticipated. But we'll get them covered. Now we got some shade overhead. It's definitely made a huge difference on the inside here. We got the bottom bags covered, and we'll kind of do more as we go along. But my main concern now is probably just keeping the outside bags for sure covered. So we'll probably have to do that next, and probably pretty soon. I was really excited to get to the loft because I knew getting the loft in place, getting the eaves in place, it'd be a lot easier to get some shade cloth up. And that has been a long time coming. So I, for one, am glad that that is up. Protecting those bags, keeping a lot of the light off there. This direct sunlight hits some of those bags some part of the day, but a lot less than it has been. It has been a busy couple of days. I went through all the rest of that dirt, but did you see how much cobbing I got done?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Nice. There's like four layers, but now a couple things coming up. I want to keep on building up, but there's some things we got to do before we can add more layers to this dome. Before we get any higher, I want to add some bracing to these eaves, add some angle bracing coming down off of there, and then once I do that, then we can cob over the rest of these outside bags. I want to get that done ASAP. Then after that, then I think we're going to be doing that cob layer, going over the top before we start back with the bags again. I'm very excited. How do you feel about cobbing these upper portions of the dome? You got any ideas of how we're going to do that?
We're gonna build a cob cannon and shoot it at the wall.
Cob cannon! Or what about some kung fu cobbing?
Gonna like high kick it.
High kick it right up onto that wall. It's getting late, sun's going down. We'll catch you on the next video, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. All right, bye.